In today's video, we're going to discuss the real estate market here in the Niagara region as of June the 1st when I'm filming this video. So it is now the start of the summer season in real estate. We just completed this past spring. So we're going to dive into some of the numbers from the spring season, and I'll give you a couple of my ideas of what to expect this summer and in the fall. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Koukun and I'm a real estate agent here in the Niagara region. I also run a real estate team, Team Koukun Real Estate, that helps hundreds of clients buy and sell homes here in the Niagara region. If you're interested in getting in touch with me to discuss buying or selling your home here in the Niagara region, you can reach out to me in the contact info in the description below. All right, so let's get into it. So let's start off with the average sale price. So this is a chart for the last 3 years. You can see here 3 years ago, around the time when COVID started, back in January of 2020, the real estate market back then was quite a bit lower than it is now. And this is the average sale price in all of Niagara. So all the different cities are all combined in this graph. So back then it was around 438,000. It has been on a tear, as you probably know. It peaked at around 805,000 in February of last year, 2022. Since then, there has been a 30% decline in real estate prices that ended in around December. And at that time, the average price went as low as 572,000. Now, keep in mind, there weren't a lot of sales that happened to justify that lower price, but definitely we saw it as well with the clients who ended up purchasing around that time. There weren't a lot of clients who had the guts to do so back when, it seemed pessimism was in the air, but those were the lowest times to buy a property. And since then, we've seen the market come up around 15% or so. So about half of this decline, we've sort of started to come back, not quite halfway there, but getting close, as high as 660,000 in April, and now a little bit lower in May. This little bit lower is the curious part, because from December till April, it was just on its way up, but then we're seeing it come back down just ever so slightly. So it could be the combination of the market going back to its typical seasons, where the spring is the highest and then it slows down for the summer before picking back up in the fall. Or it could mean that things are starting to level off, because right now the cost of buying a house is a lot higher. Well, it wasn't quite higher in February, but the monthly costs are about the same. So it's kind of leveled off, where it's costing about the same, if not a little bit more, to own a house now than it was at the peak when interest rates were at 1.5%. So the ability for people to buy homes is directly affected by how much they can afford to pay on a monthly basis, and this is probably the direct result of that. If we move on to new listings, so again, we're looking at the last 3 years, we saw new listings spike in May. So this is a fairly healthy sign. It shows people are coming back to sell their properties. March and February and even April were fairly low numbers compared to like previous years when, March and April, and it just continued into the summer of last year. You can see these are the spikes of the typical spring markets. We didn't see that earlier, but now as of May, we can fairly confidently say that this was a fairly active spring market. If we go over to days on market, so this is something I like to watch closely, because it gives you a sense of where is the market at in terms of who gets to control the transaction. Is it the sellers determining, what prices homes sell for, where they control the transaction, or is it the buyers, because there's not a lot of demand, then they get to set the terms. You could see in the summer of 2022, even 2021, just this whole period, the average number of days to sell a home was under 10 days. Practically what that means was you would put a home on the market and you would just hold offers for a week. You would get an offer usually without conditions and it would just sell. That trend completely reversed up to about January, where it peaked at about 40 days on the market. Now that 40 days number is a little bit not accurate, because it probably included a lot of listings that were listed prior to December that just sat on the market because they didn't sell, and not a lot of people were looking over Christmas. But if we look even the month after, in February, the number came down quite a bit, but even in December it was 35. So it was around that range where it peaked. Since then, there has been this steady downturn in terms of the number of days to sell a property. So we saw it go to 24 in March, 19 in April, and 17 in May. So even though the average sale price came down a little bit in May, the number of days it took to sell a home came down as well. So looking into the next couple of months, obviously the summer is a slower time for real estate, so it is normal if we don't see a ton of transactions happen, but it will be interesting to see as the fall market comes along. I'm expecting the market to, be somewhat steady, if not on an upward trend. Obviously, these things can change if the Bank of Canada decides to increase interest rates again. But as far as we're seeing with the days on market still going down, the demand from the buying side is still increasing. And, we're working with a lot of clients who are actively looking to purchase a home, right? They may have paused over the last couple of months, but now they're starting to think about, okay, I want to move. I need a bigger house, I need a small house, whatever their situation is, like the need to move or the need to buy a home hasn't changed, and they're just trying to make it work, right? So with all of this happening, we're expecting the next couple of months and even the fall to be a fairly upward trend. My hope is that it can stay steady for the next little bit. We've seen a crazy run up in prices. That's not good for anyone, right? If you're a seller, yes, it helps you on the selling side, but most people who sell need to buy a home as well. So for the average person, it's great when the real estate market is just a steady level market going up, 3 to 5% a year. Everyone makes a little bit of money that way. When we see these crazy run-ups, it's not easy on anyone. And even for me as an agent working with clients, telling them that they can't put conditions like we saw in the last 2 years, that's not a great feeling. I would rather a client have time to put conditions and go through the normal process to buy a house versus being super rushed. Right now, we still can put conditions, which is thankfully we're able to do that. But who knows, if this trend continues to go down in terms of the number of days on the market, we may see more homes selling in multiple offers without conditions. We're already starting to see that in St. Catharines and definitely over on the Hamilton side, but it hasn't quite spread to the rest of the Niagara region. So only time will tell if that is the reality we face in this coming fall. Hopefully not, but if you're looking to buy a home specifically, the summertime may be a good time to consider because there are homes that haven't sold during the spring. Maybe they were overpriced, whatever the reason was, where the seller may still actually need to sell that home. They may have already bought their next place, so they need to sell. And if the buyers start to take it easy, make vacation plans for the summer, if you're still looking to buy in the summer, in the past, we've had some of the best deals that our buyers have been able to purchase during the slower summer months. So if that's you, it is still definitely a good time to look. You may not have a ton of selection, but if you can find the home that you like, now is a great time to consider purchasing it, especially as we go into June and July. Hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. And again, if you want to discuss buying or selling a home here in the Niagara region, you can reach out to me in the information in the description below. All the best.